Hello, everyone, and welcome to Hidden Existence. Hope everybody's doing all right out there tonight. With me, of course, is Larry Battson. How you doing, Larry?
Oh, I'm better than a termite in a lumber yard.
Right. Okay.
Yeah,
Sounds
yeah,
good. Sounds
yeah.
good. It is, of course, the sixth night of the 12 Days Christmas. I hope everyone's
Mm.
enjoying the shows so far. So we were going to have a guest tonight, but unfortunately, he couldn't make it. So, oh, that's me. Technical. Technical
Oh,
blunders, I know. Anyway, what we're going to do instead is listen to. Um, you had and you still have a site up on. Well, you have a channel up on Blog Talk,
radio,
Blog Talk
blog talk
Radio,
radio. Yes,
and yours is called Larry Batson's
wild world,
Wild
and it is.
Wild World. It's really wild,
It
and
is wild.
you've got over 40 interviews on there at least. With
Oh, I think it's like a. Yeah, it's more than that.
Oh, it could be in 70s. Could be 70 odd, actually,
Yeah.
thinking about it. Um, you've got, yeah, they're from Draw Daniel. Well, it's funny because Larry's going to draw Bob Gimlin. I thought, oh, could be a risky one, that one. But what we're going to do is Larry is going to draw something. And then I said, what about his horse? That could have been another thing he could
Oh,
draw. Um, we'll take suggestions from the chat what Larry should draw.
oh, okay. There we go.
Yeah, and what we're going to do is listen to an interview Larry did with Bob Gimlin about 8 years ago, just over 8 years ago. That I'm guessing you guys have probably never heard, and I've just listened to a little bit of it. But like I said, this is probably one that you haven't heard, so we'll play that. I think we'll have a listen to that, and yeah, otherwise, no one's suggesting anything else. You're just going to draw something, I guess. A Bigfoot, maybe.
Yeah, I know. I'm so wanting to lean towards the Bob Gimlin one, but
Well, why not? Why not?
that's
Um,
a lot of pressure.
it is a lot of pressure, but well, it's entirely up to you. J Rock, we did. Larry did draw Patty once.
Well, I'll do it again.
Do it again. Do another
Yeah,
Patty.
why not?
Why not? Why
Yeah.
not?
Probably
Um,
won't anything like the last one I drew.
that was a good one. The last one.
It
Uh,
was.
I'll put it up after. Once you've drawn that one, I will put it up.
Compare the two.
Compare the two.
Oh man,
That'll be interesting.
maybe
That will be
I gotta move
interesting.
this camera. So
You
if
get
you,
yourself set up.
yeah, if you throw up, go right in the car or boat, take some Dramamine or something. 'Cause this thing's just what the heck is
All
going
over the
on?
place. You think you'd have
Well,
mastered it by now?
yeah, a lot of people would say that. They say, "Man, you've been doing that show forever, and you don't even know what buttons to hit." And I don't. I have no idea lots of times. So when we
You'll
get
get
that
there.
image up on the screen, you best say a prayer for the Lord because
We've got another suggestion.
oh,
Patty hugging Bob. Maybe not. Maybe not. But a good one. Good one. What should we go for the Bob? We'll go for Bob. And
oh God, no.
we'll swap us around, and then I can get you on the big screen, and there'll be another screen up when we play this audio.
Hey, that's not even close, man. I'm really getting it tonight.
Oh, we're a little bit out there.
Yeah, a little bit, a little bit. I had this figured out earlier, and guess what? I don't have nothing going on here. Boy, this show's kind of
Might need
light.
a little bit more light.
Oh, I can do that too.
That's not bad.
I just threw my ears out of my head. Yeah.
You must have sketched a Bigfoot before then on that one. Is that the one you used for Bigfoot? You can just see an outline of one.
Oh, that's it leaks the previous
Comes-
drawing.
it
Yeah,
comes
it leaks through
doesn't
the
it?
page.
Yeah.
Yeah. I didn't think I was trying to find one. Oh yeah.
Oh, there it is.
Yeah.
There it is. Got you.
I got the dang thing sitting everywhere.
You don't want anyone saying you've already drawn Bob out. An outline. I'm sure his head's not that shape.
Gosh, I kind of take offended by that. Okay. So what are we drawing? Oh no.
Are we going to draw Bob?
My mouth?
Oh,
why did I open my mouth?
I think we did say. I mean, it's up to you, Patty or Bob. I mean,
I'll draw the Bob on.
Draw Bob. I mean, this is going to be interesting.
Yeah. Plus, I don't have anything to look at, so it's going to make it even more listenable.
Yeah. Well, I guess this is Bob from any era, isn't it?
Yeah.
As you remember him.
Yeah, I know. So.
Right. Well, go on.
I think I'm almost ready.
Yeah.
Yeah. Earplugs stay in.
Oh, I don't want that like that. Why is that doing that? That's not good either. I've forgotten. Oh, there we go. Oh, I can't see that though. I guess it doesn't matter. I'm a bit out of practice, I think. Just oh yeah, a bit of light came on then. It was dark and then it came light. Yes, I can see that. It keeps coming on and off the light, but I think we're getting the gist.
Taliban.
Mm.
I'm working on it here. That's what it sounds like when the light touches the microphone.
Yes.
Yeah.
I think it's as you're bending over. It's probably the light's behind you, isn't it? And then when you move,
no. That's what's so darn amazing about it.
All right, now let me start this. We'll have a listen to this interview together. Here we go.
Our guest tonight, we're so excited. All the way from Yakima, Washington, the legend himself, Bob Gimlin, will be with us, part of the Patterson-Gimlin film of Sasquatch Bigfoot that was taken, hard to believe, over 40 years ago. And we're going to talk to him about that particular day and his life after the fact, which is pretty fascinating as well. And as always, from his wildlife mecca, the Wild World News Studios in Indianapolis, Indiana, honorable, distinguished, and we're told somewhat regular, Dr. Henry Day. Good evening, Doctor.
Well, you know how people are. Good evening, Mr. Battson. Have you got all your feeding chores done for the night?
Well, we just finished them up. In fact, today I was telling Mr. Gimlin before we came on the air that we were putting up fences to protect all the flower beds from our African tortoises. We have 3. One weighs in about 130 pounds. It is about 3 feet long, so you can imagine the size of that animal. It's kind of like it's a cross between a cow and a bowling ball walking around in our yard eating grass all day.
And that's right, and get out of the way.
Yeah, and get out of the way. So last year, of course, we had that drought here and all the grass died, and that's your usual diet. So they moved on to the flower beds, and my wife Cheryl wasn't a bit happy at all.
You've lost your focus there.
Man, I just saw it right.
How can you come on again? I don't know what's happened to your camera, Larry. Randy, you're coming on the 21st. So that's Wednesday. Yeah, I think it's maybe the light, Larry. It's not in focus at all. Sorry. That's it. That's it. Right. We'll continue.
Also, this year we're way ahead of the plan, and we've got fences protected all of our beautiful flowers. The tortoises are happy, and we're happy, and you know what's that saying? As long as the wife's happy, everything's good. You know what I'm trying to say, Dr. Day?
That's right.
This half of Larry Battson's Wild World is brought to you by We Want You Cottages. We know all about them. We had the opportunity to stay there when we were at the Chautauqua Lake Bigfoot Expo. In fact, I have on my souvenir T-shirt tonight because of Mr. Gimlin being on the show. And they got a fine facility, folks. If you're a fisherman, Chautauqua Lake, in fact, we were talking earlier to Melissa Hovey that they were the ones that were basically responsible for putting the muskie back on the map in New York. They started a great fishery up there, and now the muskie fishing is absolutely tremendous. And where you want to stay is with the Weimers, Kathy, Peter. We Want You Cottages. It was absolutely great facility, great host. They'll rent you a boat, whatever you want. Head up to New York, Western New York. Their website, www.wewantyou.com. And these underwriters, they're the ones that make it possible for Larry Battson's Wild World to be on Blog Talk Radio.
It's now time from his broadcasting mecca in Indianapolis, Indiana, the distinguished Dr. Henry Day with the Wild World News.
Good evening. This is Dr. Henry Day with the Wild World News for June 13th. Well, let's start out the news tonight with a rare birth in Tennessee.
Oh.
Excuse me. Memphis Zoo says a bonobo ape was born there on May 12th.
Oh, my.
But the sex of the baby is not yet known. Now, as you know, bonobos are very rare in the wild and in captivity and are a high conservation priority. Now, it's the second bonobo born there at the zoo.
Very close to the chimpanzee in appearance, but you know, I was reading an article in the Smithsonian. It's kind of like people. The females run the whole deal. They're the rulers of the roost. So it's no different than we are. We should be very close to them.
Well, good. I was going to have you describe a bonobo to our listeners who didn't know exactly what a bonobo was. But yeah, they're pretty much like a chimpanzee, except a lot smarter.
Smarter and, yes, and not nearly as aggressive. And as I mentioned earlier, it's the little woman that runs the deal.
That's right.
Mm-hmm.
All right. We have a confirmed sighting of a great white shark in Massachusetts, and it closes the beaches there at Cape Cod. Yeah, now, lifeguards spotted a dorsal fin about 150 yards offshore. Well, the swimmers were asked to get out of the water, and the surrounding towns were notified. And Melissa, if you want to see it, it's last reported heading towards Chatham, Massachusetts. So,
well, there you go. Well, you know, Melissa Hovey is quite the shark fan.
That's right.
She loves sharks.
She does love sharks. Mm-hmm. I love them in a different way, though.
I think she loves them more than her almost husband, Wayne.
Well, we won't get into that tonight, but
no, we won't.
All right, who ordered mutton? Deadwood, South Dakota. Wildlife officials plan to introduce up to 40 bighorn sheep into the Grizzly Gulch area in the northern Black Hills.
Very cool. That's neat.
Yeah, they are beautiful animals.
I don't think I've ever been through that area. I know I've been through the Badlands. Is it close to the Badlands, Dr. Day?
Well, it's all bad and it's all good too.
Thank you very much.
All right, you're welcome. All right, we have good news out of Charleston, South Carolina. The South Carolina Aquarium has obtained its own laser to treat injured sea turtles and other creatures, which will speed up their treatment time. And it's best to get them in and get them out. Do an outpatient thing on them. Now, the new laser was used for the first time on an injured Kemp's Ridley sea turtle, and it is doing fine.
We need to have Donna Shaver on. It was so responsible for the Ridley sea turtle down in, oh my gosh,
South Padre.
South Padre Island in Texas. Yes, we need to have her back.
Right. Yes, it's been a while since she's been on.
Mm-hmm.
And I'd like to hear how those little turtles are doing.
Mm-hmm.
All right, now this happens a lot this time of the year. Sevierville, Tennessee, wildlife rehabilitators rescued 2 juvenile bald eagles whose nest fell 75 feet to the ground during a thunderstorm.
Wow.
Now, I know you've rescued a couple of owls in the past. The same thing has happened to you. And when I was a kid growing up in Kansas, I rescued and rehabilitated a baby blue jay named Albert.
Yeah.
And I was able to turn him loose, and everything was fine.
Well, the size of those nests, they can, they make them bigger every year. The pair that use the nest, and they can weigh 1,000 pounds.
Yep, and be up to 25 foot across.
My gosh, so the earth probably moved and that thing crashed to the ground.
I imagine so. Now, if you're a penguin fan, head off to New Orleans, Louisiana. 3 endangered African penguin chicks are swimming around with adult penguins on display at the aquarium there. Now, this is good news. This is good news. And I love penguins. I've always wanted a penguin, but I can only have one. Now, the gray and white chicks hatched in March and will get their black and white plumage in about a year.
What was that again, Dr.
Easy
Day?
for me to say. I will say plumage.
There you go. We love the penguins.
Yes, we do.
Have had little experience. The only thing I can tell you about the penguin is the Indianapolis Zoo, when they first built their penguin exhibit, their air filtration system that they had pumped the air from the penguin area into where the people viewed the penguins. So it wasn't, with all that fish, it wasn't good.
Interesting.
Yeah. That's inside news, by the way.
Yeah, now see, the problem with having a penguin as a pet, most of them have to have a dust-free environment.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's pretty hard to come by. All right, now here's an interesting story out of Genesee, Wisconsin. A fire at a game farm and hunt club destroyed a barn that housed hundreds of pheasants. But an update on the sports club's Facebook page said 600 pheasants were missing.
They're loose?
Well, they think somebody's taken the 600 pheasants and then set the barn on fire.
Oh,
now, where do you hide 600 pheasants?
Now, that's a criminal, I'm telling you right now.
Yeah. Now, did you hear about Australian swimmer Chloe McCardle?
No, I did not.
Well, she pulled out of her swim from Cuba to Florida after she was stung by a jellyfish yesterday.
Oh, my.
Now, she was only 11 hours into her swim when the jellyfish stung her. Now, she would have been the first to swim the 100 miles with no shark cage.
Could she not find anyone that would urinate on her jellyfish injury?
We won't go into that, but the good news is the jellyfish is okay and should reach Florida sometime tomorrow night. All right, the local news. Here's the local news. 375 rabbits were removed from a home on the far south side.
I heard about that.
Yeah, and I don't think we need to say any more about that.
Oh, my gosh, I can't even imagine. How many? 375?
375 rabbits, yes.
Lord have mercy.
Yeah. All right. Now, before we get into the Wild World facts tonight, the Old Farmer's Almanac says the next 10 days are the best for fishing this month, so get out there if you can.
Okay.
All right, get ready for the Wild World facts tonight.
I'm ready.
The whale shark has over 400 teeth, and each tooth is only about 3 millimeters long.
Once again, Dr. Henry Day, man.
Now, I wanted to ask you before we go tonight from the
Yes.
Wild World News, how's your hummingbird coming along?
Well, I could tell you a story this evening about hummingbirds, which it's never happened to me before. Would you like to hear it?
Please.
Well, usually about 7 a.m. in the morning, our baboon gets me up because it would like a bottle of milk. So while I'm in there warming up its milk and preparing its formula, I live out in the middle of nowhere, so I'll go out and as we say, Mother Nature calls, in my backyard. For some reason, the last 3 days, as I'm relieving myself, a hummingbird has been coming in and circling. The stream is being released around and around. Dr. Day, it has happened the last 3 days.
Built-in
That's not
camera.
the kind of story I was expecting.
Can anyone on your staff explain that to me?
Well, hummingbirds do like mist of water. They do like, so yeah, maybe he was thinking about a golden shower, I guess.
It is.
And I'm sorry I brought all that up because the whole thing was that I was going to tell you that hummingbirds consume half of their weight in food daily.
Oh, I know. Oh, yes. When we have lots of them already. They show up April 15th and here all summer. And I have to get a loan for sugar to keep them happy.
Oh, I know. I've seen them out there. It's nonstop.
Oh my gosh, and they're aggressive. They're not nice. They're like little flying ice picks.
Oh, yes. Yes,
So
well, you're going to have to be more careful in the morning, aren't you?
Absolutely, we do.
All right, well, let's get on with this. We're wasting time tonight. It takes a lobster about 7 years to grow to 1 pound.
Oh,
Yes, now that's why they taste so good.
I'll bet.
The last fact of the night, the Liat Jungle, located in Omaha, Nebraska, is the world's largest indoor rainforest. And that's the Wild World News for June 13th.
Well, once again, a fantastic job done by Dr. Henry Day and his staff at the Wild World News headquarters in Indianapolis, Indiana, the crossroads of America. We'd also like to tell everyone about our brand new project brought on by Shelley Leibowitz and SRI Records. It's called the Wild World Music Collection. Listen to these artists: Willie Nelson, Dolly Parton, Waylon Jennings, Freddie Fender, Hank Williams, Elvis Presley. It goes on and on and on. A wonderful download. All you have to do is go to LarryTheAnimalGuy.com and make a donation of $15 or more, and we will send you that download with over 4 CDs worth of music. It's an amazing deal. In fact, in a couple of weeks, Shelley Leibowitz with SRI Records in Hollywood, California is going to be on the program, and for 1 hour, we're going to feature music from the download and encourage everyone to help contribute to our wild animal family and the work we do in schools. They make it possible for Larry Battson's Wild World to be on Blog Talk Radio.
How are you getting on, Larry?
I'm fine.
Okay.
I'm about done with it. I've been. I didn't know how to get. I hate it so much.
Well, I mean, we've still got time. I didn't realise there was such a long intro on your thing, but I mean, you can play around with it a little bit. Yeah. Shall I keep going? I'll keep going anyway.
Okay.
Just yeah. Sorry, guys. I didn't realise it was such a long intro, but it's been interesting.
Roger and Bob rode out that day. See that day was telephone came out the cat and made
2003, I attended a conference in Willow Creek, California, with John Green and the major band from Russia, and some very important people in the field at that time. Dr. Milgram was there, and Jimmy Chilcott was there, and the list goes on and on. You know, the great, the ones that I think, you know, really good in this field of the Bigfoot phenomenon. But anyway, that got me started again, involved in what little bit that I'm able to attend now at my age. You know, I'm kind of getting my energy level is not quite as good as it was a few years ago, but I'm still working at it, pretty much. And Tom and I, if it wasn't for Tom Yamron, to be able to go with me and do things, you know, I probably couldn't even couldn't fly or couldn't do a lot of different things, because I don't do, I don't do computers or anything in airports. And in fact, I like to fly as once I'm in the plane, but getting there is what I'm not really fond of.
And speaking of Tom Yamarone, we have a special guest on the line tonight, Larry. You know who it is.
Tom Yamarone from Northern California.
Yes, sir.
Hey, that's great. That's great. Hello, Tom.
Oh, we're trying to get him in.
Oh, we lost
okay.
him already.
No,
Well,
he should be there. He should be there.
Tom?
Hi, guys. How are you doing?
Oh, there he is.
Hey, I could hear you.
Oh, good.
Hey, yeah, great to good to hear you, Larry. And hi, Melissa. And hello, Bob.
Hi, Tom.
And Tom,
Hey.
we need to introduce you to our, I don't know what you would call him, but Dr. Henry Day is a part of our program.
Oh,
Good evening, Tom.
good evening. Good evening, Henry. If I may call you that. I heard you speaking earlier about the shark sighting off the coast of Massachusetts and the bonobos. So I was able to hear that. I'm out actually right now with my family, are all in town for my daughter's graduation, but I'm able to take a little break here and step outside.
Well, congratulations.
Thank you.
I have to say, we were at the Chautauqua Lake Bigfoot Expo the end of April. And when Tom Yamarone brought in Bob Gimlin to that arena, to the very first event, and I think Melissa and Wayne will attest to this, it was like Elvis Presley had arrived.
Well, yeah.
Well, that's why we'll call Tom the Elvis of Bigfoot then, okay?
hey, wait a minute.
Dr. May, I want to tell Dr. May that I really appreciated his input on this, about the different things his events that happened. That was very interesting. Thank you very much, Dr. Henry May.
You're welcome.
Well, we don't give him too many kudos, because we're just afraid he'll spontaneously combust one day. We'll never have him again, so try to keep him a little bit sedated if we can at all times.
Okay.
But
all right, that's you guys' job over there, all right?
Well, don't you think, so much of what we do in our search for evidence and search for Bigfoot and Sasquatch, I mean, a lot of that depends on what's going on in the natural world and understanding nature and the natural world. So, yeah, this is all, in some ways, obviously it goes hand in hand.
Well,
Definitely,
I've always said that if I saw one walk off of a spaceship, I am done. I am not interested in any aliens. I have no interest, and not unless it's another living wild animal on this planet. My interest is over. In fact, I think I may have mentioned when we had a great evening one night in Tom and Bob's cabin, just chatting, and my interest started when Jim Fowler had told me about being in Russia, and the Russian guides, all they wanted to talk about was Bigfoot. They were trying to go into an area and film Russian brown bears, but they're more interested in Bigfoot because they had seen something in that part of the world. which is very similar to what's been reported in Northern California, what Roger and Bob had filmed. Roger Patterson, of course, and that's been reported for all these years. And you know what amazed me so much, Bob, about the conference? That you stated that the first showing of the film, which occurred up in Vancouver, am I not mistaken?
Yeah, that's true. Vancouver, British Columbia.
Yeah, and you did not attend, and people said, well, why? Well, you had to go back to work. You actually had a job.
Yes, this is true.
And that when you actually saw the film, you were disappointed.
I was. Because, because it didn't, it just wasn't as plain as what I saw with my two blues, So I thought, well, God, I saw a lot more of that than the film showing. So I just wasn't that impressed with it, and everybody else was talking about it. I thought, oh, well, I wish they could see what I saw.
And I've always said, go ahead, please.
Well, I was kind of through there. But, then I realized that there's a whole difference in, by seeing it through your own eyes than a camera on film, say. And so it didn't take long to realize that, hey, that I had a little bit of an advantage there over the film.
And can you not believe it's 40 years since, or over 40 years now, there has no one, even with the modern technology that we have, that has come up with anything better.
This is true, and I'm real happy about that. And and I guess Mr. Bill Munns is doing some incredible work with it at this point in time. I haven't had a chance to talk to Bill lately, but I plan on next week being able to visit with him some down in Portland and talk to him about what he's really doing with the film. But I understand that he's doing some incredible work with it.
Well, for those who may not know, Bill Munns is an incredible Hollywood monster builder and creator of some great costumes and effects. And if anyone could build a duplicate of what Roger and Bob saw in October 1967, he's the guy that could do that.
Yeah, if I might say, yes, Bill's work is and we'll see when his project is finished. But from the few talks I've seen, one last October, he will show to those who question whether or not that the film subject was somebody in a suit. He'll show definitively that what was available in 1967 does not compare. And then we all know that it's a more natural moving film subject. But and then you get into the things that John Green had pointed out, the limb ratios, and Bill is able to again show that as well. So that ultimately, and the same reason why we did the Yakima Roundup in 2009 is to finally give these guys credit, not credit, but give them some acclamations for what they achieved there. Let's honor their achievement, which really has never been done over time.
Well, what did they decide, Bob, was the actual height of the animal that you saw that day?
Well, the last time I talked to Bill, he said it measured 7 foot 3 3/4 inches. So, all of these people talk about being in a suit and all that. I think the one particular fellow is not even quite 6 foot tall. So, it proves right there that there's some false statements there and a whole lot of whatever you want to call it. I don't really like to put a name on it or brand it with anything special, but we know that there is there's people out there that would like to make a name for themselves or do something. I don't really know what the whole idea for the different statements that they make and trying to get a suit made that looks similar to the film footage. and also the Stride and whatever else they're working on at the time, or did work on up here. So that's what Mr. Munns told me last time I talked to him, that's what the actual height measurement of the creature was, 7 foot 3 3/4 inches tall.
And what I've always presented whenever I've given a talk on the subject with my limited knowledge is that here you and Roger are sitting around deciding to do, decide to do this hoax, and you get this costume constructed, and you're going to put a guy in it, and you say, well, that suit looks pretty good, but you know, Roger, we really need to put a couple of breasts on it.
Well,
it just doesn't add up.
To be plumb honest with you, Larry, when I first saw that creature, you know, I could see that there was something rather large there, but I didn't know what a male or female was supposed to look like.
Sure.
So I never, never even thought about a female. Everything was happening so rapidly, and all I was thinking about was this is one very, very large creature out there walking away just like a human being. And so then when they started talking about it being a female because of the large mammary glands, and I thought, well, yeah, they're there, but you see some men with some pretty good sized chests on them, but not like that. But anyway, that's kind of when I just accepted the fact that they are probably a little bit more alert on the different things than I am. And then I guess I think I'm not sure whether it was Bill or who it was, said that you could see how the movement was as it walked, and I'll call it she because that's what they branded her, and also named it Patty. But so they say, well, they said they're the people, whoever said this, I'm not sure. I thought it was Bill, but maybe not. Sometimes I forget, and I don't know why. But anyway, that if anybody would be in a suit, they wouldn't have that kind of movement as they walked,
Sure.
Yeah. And of course, we all are aware of what females look like when they walk, because being male, we observed them all of our lives. So consequently, we definitely know what they look like when they're walking. So I'll rest my case.
Yeah, you do rest your case. Our guest tonight, Bob Gimlin, a special guest from Northern California, Tom Yamarone, great songwriter of Bigfoot tunes. Hey, we're going to take a short break. Folks, you're listening to Larry Battson's Wild World on Blog Talk Radio. We will be right back.
Stay tuned.
This is fascinating listening to him talking about,
That's right. Yeah, he's
what people think about, what people thought about it, being a suit.
Yeah. Well, I finished my drawing, and I've decided to never do that again. My memory is not that good.
It's okay. Well, I mean, it kind of looks like him, It's got the look of Bob.
I've ruined my whole reputation tonight.
Well, we won't tell anyone. What do you want to do? Because we've got another sort of like 20 minutes, I think, of this interview. Do you want to draw Patty, or do you just want to rub that out as we're...
Yeah, rub it out, yeah. Play what's left, and we'll have a talk tomorrow. Tonight I was too miscombobulated.
It's okay. That's all right. Shall we play the rest of the video, the audio?
Yeah, sure, absolutely.
Okay, all right. You come up on screen if you want then.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Be back with more of Larry Battson's Wild World here on Blog Talk Radio.
Jerking.
Location.
In the forest near the side of the road.
No need for alarm, sir. The Smart Bear. Did you know that 9 out of 10 wildfires are caused by humans? That means 9 out of 10 wildfires can be prevented.
That's what Smokey said. I had no idea.
That's why Smokey's famous, and you're not.
Good point.
Get your Smokey on. If you see someone in danger of starting a wildfire, step in and make a difference, because 9 out of 10 wildfires are caused by humans. Brought to you by Smokey Bear, the U.S. Forest Service, your state forester, and the Ad Council. Learn more at SmokeyBear.com. Only you can prevent wildfires.
Welcome back to Larry Battson's Wild World here on Blog Talk Radio. Once again, here's your host, Larry Battson.
We'll be back with our very special guest, Bob Gimlin from the state of Washington, also Tam Yamarone from Northern California. We want to remind everyone to go to our archives. We've got lots and lots of shows with some great guests, and encourage you to check out the archives of Larry Battson's Wild World. We also want to thank McGregor Mountain Lodge, beautiful Estes Park, Colorado. That's God's country, everybody. If you've never been to the western part of our United States, I thoroughly encourage you to visit Colorado, the village of Estes Park, and if you want to stay at a truly spectacular resort, McGregor Mountain Lodge and the boundaries of Rocky Mountain National Park, you'll have bighorn sheep in your backyard, elk. It's truly amazing, and it's you get a spiritual feeling when you go to those mountains and breathe that fresh mountain air. No better place to do that than McGregor Mountain Lodge. Their website, www.mcgregormountainlodge.com. They're one of the underwriters that make it possible for Larry Battson's Wild World to be on Blog Talk Radio. You crazy year.
Well, of course, we played harmonica on the...
Bob wrote out that day. That's great, Tom. I have to tell you, I had more fun jamming with you guys. So it's truly a world I fear.
Well, you know, I'm so glad you came up and did that, Larry, because when I was back there at Lake Chautauqua, what was great was, you know, these are simple songs. I like that they tell the story and some of the more famous accounts of Bigfoot stories. But I'm always glad to play with anybody. And I'm glad, you know, when we had the 2 nights to rehearse with Todd Prescott from Ontario. So big hellos to Todd. And yeah, I'm glad you came up there and played harmonica on the song about Jerry Crew. Cause anyway, that's just always a blast for me to play where people hopefully will appreciate these songs. Yeah. So,
well,
thank you.
It was such a great environment, the whole 3 days that we spent up there. And I have to tell everyone right now, and this will embarrass him, I'm sure, but when you meet Bob Gimlin and he talks to you and he looks you in the eye, he is so genuine. He's so honest that I believe he could sell ice chest to an Eskimo.
Oh yeah. Well, talking to me? You talking to me? Yeah. Well, of course. That's the thing about Bob that impresses everybody is sincerity, and there's something until you meet him, you won't. I guess you won't know unless you take somebody's word for it. But yeah, I mean, I've been just real honored, and it's been a real pleasure to have known Bob so long. You know. So, anyway,
it would be. Who were some of the top people that you had a chance to meet, Bob, when you've been doing this for this 40 crazy years since Bluff Creek?
Is Bob still on with us?
Did we lose Bob?
We shouldn't have.
Bob?
Okay, let me try to get him back. Hold on.
Well, we'll explain. Tom and I can talk about this because it was just phenomenal. I mean, when he walked into the room, it was like Elvis had arrived, and it was just a fantastic 3 days. And one of the most interesting things that I can remember him talking about was some of the things that occurred after the fact, because he hasn't completely given up the Bigfoot research thing. I mean, he still gets a chance to get out in the wild and mingle with the folks. And
right, he does. He gets out there in his area. There's places in the Cascades, and there's local researchers that stay in touch with him. And he's always interested to know as well what is going on in other areas. So for us to go back like we did in April, they afforded him that opportunity to speak with. There were several people there doing research in the Allegheny National Forest, and you folks from Ohio, Indiana. So he does like to stay up to date with what's going on.
And I think
we do have Bob back.
Oh, okay.
Hey, I gotta apologize to you guys. I laid the phone down to take a drink of my tea, picked it back up, and with my thumb and hit the off button. So, hey, I owe you one.
No, you don't, Doc, because we have to confess we were talking about this just the other day, Bob and Tom, that Dr. Day he'd had a rather hard day, and we're doing the program, and we could hear snoring sounds. We realized that we had lost Dr. Day.
Well, hey, let me tell you, I can understand Dr. Henry Day, but I didn't have such a bad day, so I'll hang on this time. All right, guys?
I was right there.
If I missed out on something, well, then I'll just have to catch up here after a while.
Well, we were building up your ego a little bit, I think, because I was telling everyone that anyone who has the opportunity to meet you, you're most genuine, honest, and you look into your eyes, and as I told Tom, you could sell an ice box to an Eskimo, Bob Gimlin.
Well, thank you. I mean, by golly, I might go into selling here someday then. If you guys keep building me up like that, I might have to.
Well, you've been known to sell a horse or two every once in a while, huh?
Well, yes, yeah, that's true. And, yes, that's very true. Thank you.
Yeah, similar tactics. You know what they say about a good old horse trader, boy.
Well, I've had a little experience on that subject, I don't do as much trading as I do riding, but it all kind of fits hand in glove. Go ahead, you guys. Go ahead with the program. I don't want to be holding up anything here.
You're not holding up anything.
You are the program.
You are the program.
Yeah. Hey, I'm gonna have to excuse myself and say I should get going here and get back in with my family. But thank you for having me on, and it's a real pleasure to talk with you again, and Larry and Melissa and Dr. Day. Thanks. I hope to meet you someday, and it was wonderful seeing you back there at Lake Chautauqua, New York.
Well, we want to thank you so much for the music that you contributed tonight. It added so much to the program, and I encourage everyone to check out Tom Yamarone. You have a website. Tell everyone.
I do. BigfootSongs.com. It's plural. Bigfoot Songs. And in fact, that song, Roger and Bob, I'm so proud to announce that it's in a new, a small independent Hollywood movie called Willow Creek, written and directed by Bobcat Goldthwait. And it's showing at film festivals. It just showed in Dallas on Sunday night, and we got to see it up in Arcata on May 31st. And it's a really good movie. It's fictional, but the man and woman in the movie, young people in their 20s, they pursue information trying to get back to where the film was made. It's really all about the Battson-Gimlin film in that way. So anyway.
Yeah. Well, that's fantastic. Well, thank you so much, Tom.
Okay. Well, you guys have a great rest of the interview, and I will talk with you soon.
Thank you, Tom.
Okay. Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Yeah, thanks, Tom.
Willow Creek ought to you ought to be the honorary mayor of Willow Creek, Bob. You basically put that little town on the map.
Well, I tell you, Al Hudson's been a great. Have you guys ever been able to meet Al Hudson?
I've talked to him on the phone.
Yeah, a great guy. Yes, a great guy. And we were lucky enough to. I was lucky enough to meet Al down there when Roger and I were down there on that particular time. And so then I've been able to visit with him a few times since then. You know, of course, in 2003, he was the one that coordinated that conference down there in Willow Creek. You know, that got me going again with the Bigfoot phenomenon. You know, before that, you know, I took so much negative part of that, negative things about it, that I was just kind of fed up with it and didn't really want to have anything much to do with it anymore, you know.
I'll bet.
And so, you know, I was really happy that Al did coordinate that conference, convention, or whatever you want to call it, you know. And it worked out really well, and I realized that there was 200 plus people that was seriously concerned and interested in it. And so and there was a good panel, a great panel there, and of course John Green and the ones that I mentioned were on the panel speaking, and I think they're all together, including myself. I think there was 12 speakers there at that time. Wow. In 2003, and so that got me back on track again as far as my concern that there was people that was seriously interested in it. So I've made as many of them as I possibly could since then. And, you know, even I didn't make the Ohio one this year. I just couldn't make that one. And there's a couple of them in Oregon I'm probably not going to be able to get to. I'd like to, but, you know, I've got really good friends and stuff that's in the horse showing business, and
sure,
and they kind of depend on me to back them up and support them as far as the show goes. You know, the one little girl is, I call her my granddaughter. She really isn't biologically related to me, but her mother grew up with me, with her granddad and I riding with her. And so this went on, and then she did real good at the Youth World Show for 2 years in a row in Oklahoma City. And anytime you take a little farm girl, we call it, and head to Oklahoma City and compete with a worldwide competition with some real expensive horses, she did well. She's a champion in my book, okay? But anyway, we'll go on to some other things here. I could talk about them kids all night.
Well, that's what you have to do. I mean, because that's your true love. I mean,
oh yeah, you know, and I see when I'm able to attend these shows, like Medford, Oregon will be the next one, in Las Vegas, and probably Oklahoma City in the fall. But you see some incredible horse flesh, and you realize the amount of money that's spent on these shows and what it takes to get there, and how many vehicles it wears out running to these different places to finally get to a show of that magnitude. Well, but anyway, we've got a lot of things probably that you'd rather hear about than that I do. And if somebody wants to hear about how I got involved in the Bigfoot with Roger, I'd sure be glad to talk a little bit about that.
Well, why don't we talk about that? Because we did cover our first program, but we have so many new listeners from England and that have heard so much about this phenomenon. Why don't you tell people exactly what developed between you and Roger in the creation of this film?
Okay. All right. That's good. That's fine, because I really would like to talk about that a little bit. Roger and I had been friends for a good many years. You know, we knew each other back in the late 50s at the rodeos. And so Roger seemed like a really honest, responsible person, and just a nice guy to be around, you know, good advice and so forth. And he's also kind of he was a health conscious person and a gymnast and so forth. And of course, I didn't know him back when he was a gymnast, but Roger was an extremely strong in his upper body as for his size. Roger wasn't a very big guy. I think he was only about 5'3" or 4", something like that, and probably didn't weigh over 160 pounds. But he was extremely strong in his upper body. So you know, and he talked about different things, how he got that way, and naturally I was concerned about anybody that stayed fit and in great physical shape. And so then Roger had come by my place, and of course I rode quite a few colts in the mountains at that time. I'd go up and ride to get horses broke for could ride in the mountains, and I'd go past Roger's place. He lived back about 40 miles back towards the mountains, and I'd go past his place and I'd stop to visit with him, and he'd say, well, Bob, let me load up the horse in your rig and ride with you. And so, he's sure, Roger, go ahead. So he had these little tape players, little cassette players, and he'd play me these tapes at different testimonials of people that had, I'm not sure they were sightings, but they talked about the footprints, and Roger showed me plaster casts. Well, at that particular time, I didn't really care that much about it because I just didn't have time to get interested, involved in it. And so he'd keep doing this, and I thought, well, there's got to be something out there that people are talking about. These plaster casts Roger are showing me of various sizes, and so then he brought a book over to me that Dr. Ivan Sanderson had published back in, I think, 56 or 57. So in my spare time, I read in that book some, and I got interested, semi-interested anyway, and got to the point where I thought, well, I'd seen these plaster casts and things, and I would like to, I'd like to learn a little more and see a little more if it was possible. And so Roger and I rode over to Mount St. Helens area and didn't see anything, of course. And that was a Labor Day weekend. I had a long weekend. It started raining really, really hard over there, so we came on back home. I went back to work, and Roger went on up to his place, I guess. I really don't know where he went, but anyway, a few days later, probably a week later, Roger come flying in my driveway, really excited. He said, Bob, they found a whole bunch of footprints down there in California, up around Willow Creek, where they were starting to put logging roads in, blade logging roads in, and they put a tank in there. And when they came back on Tuesday morning after Labor Day weekend, there was 3 different sizes of footprints there. Well, he wanted me to take him down there right away, and I said, well, Roger, I can't do that. I got a job, and I got critters, I got animals and cows and horses to take care of, and my wife worked on a job, regular job. So anyway, I said, well, I went and talked to my boss, and I was hot roofing at that time for my regular job.
Oh, man.
And he said, well, yeah, Bob, if you want, he says, starting to slow down, and then September and October will be a little slower, and then when the weather breaks, gets worse in November or so forth, it's going to be some slack time. And of course, I didn't have the seniority enough to hold a job when it got a little slack. So he said, go ahead and take off. Well, I figured it'd only be a week or so, and that's what I told him. So I took Roger down there to Northern California to see these footprints that they'd talked about. Well, it had also rained up and down the whole West Coast, I assume, because the footprints were, they weren't, they were just big globs in the mud, big depressions in the mud,
Right.
depressions in the mud. So I thought, well, God, I come all the way down here to see these footprints because I'd never seen a footprint other than the plaster cast that Roger showed me. So anyway, while we were down there, we just started riding. I think it was either the last day of September or the 1st of October. I never did really decide which one of those it was. But anyway, so we rode for the next 3 weeks down there, just all over them mountains, and never saw anything. And so of course, I was ready to just give it up and come on back home. And so we decided to make one more really trip way back in an area where we had talked about going, but never got back there. It was about 15 miles back in. Mm-hmm. So we got the horses up. That it was about noon when we left out. We was going to stay all night way back in to see if something, some kind of footprints or anything, any kind of evidence that we could gather.
Yeah.
Well, about 3 miles from before we, anyway, I'll finish this up. So about 3 miles from where we were camped, as a creek came down, we made a turn around a downfall tree where the creek had rooted itself around that, and there the creature stood right alongside the creek. So that's when this all blew up, or the horses blew up, and Roger's horse had a and anyway, that's how this film footage started. So that's kind of how it happened. I'm kind of rushing along, but anyway, that's I'm all through here, I guess, according to the 60 seconds is up. I'm pretty sure. And thank you for listening.
We can run over just a little bit, but like I've told people that have watched the film footage, that camera that Roger had used is very similar to my father's camera when he would make films on vacation. And at the start of the film, it's rather jittery because Roger's running.
Roger's running across the creek.
Yeah.
See, we were on what we'd call the east side of the creek, and the creature was standing on the west side of the creek.
Mm-hmm. Well, I've got whole vacations, family vacations at home that look like that part.
Oh, do you? Well, that's why that looks so bad. And then Roger ran up this bank and kind of stumbled and went down on his elbows, and then he got up and stabilized himself on a log that was kind of buried partially in the sand. And then, of course, she was walking away. Pretty rapidly getting away, and so Roger wanted to relocate and get a better view, so he asked me if I would cover him. Well, I knew I couldn't do anything. I was still sitting on my horse, holding him, keeping him from running away, or just holding him there, keeping him there. So I rode across the creek, and so I stepped down off the horse, and I pulled my 30-06 rifle out of the scabbard because I didn't know what to expect. This great, huge, big thing. I didn't know whether to turn around and just, come back. And I never raised the rifle up to shoot or anything. I just held it. And that's that film footage. That's the frame that that a lot of people are using, where she's turning her head and that arm is coming back. And
she was looking at you.
She turned to look at me as I got down off the horse.
Oh,
but never stopped. Never stopped. Kept right on walking. And but it turned its body, its torso towards me and looked at me with that arm back, and it just kept right on going, kept right on walking, at the same speed it was walking. It didn't slow down.
How did you guys sleep that night?
We didn't. We didn't, and some people checked this out. Well, Roger did go to sleep, but after we went over and Roger sent the film on to Yakima, airmailed it, I guess. I took him to the airport, and we were so tired. I took a nap in the truck while he was inside, and then we went back, and we got back there late at night, and there was a big full moon, just a full moon. And we talked about this for hours, and then Roger finally went off to sleep, and I dozed off, and then about 3 a.m, I could hear drops on the canvas on top of the truck, on the cover over the back of the truck. And so I woke up Roger, and I said, Roger, it's starting to rain. I had got some cardboard boxes down at Al Hodson's variety store to cover these tracks up, so that people could view them. And Roger had called some Canadian people that had track dogs that was going to come down, and I figured they got to start from somewhere, so I wanted to make sure these tracks were covered up so they could see them. Well, when I put the boxes outside when we came back that night, and it started raining, and these boxes, when I looked at them, they were just soggy messes. So I saddled a horse, and I rode up there in the dark, and started pulling bark off dead trees there the best I could to cover these tracks. And that was what saved a bunch of them to be able to get plaster casts at Xmas and Rene Duhannon and the ones that went down there.
Mm-hmm.
But the track dogs couldn't make it because it had mudslides, and it started raining. And it rained all the rest of that day, and it was another story trying to get up out of there with that truck.
Well, I
the little
remember you
creek.
telling about that, talking about
It
that
was
in New York.
Yeah, right. I talked about it there. And, you know, the creek that was about 18 inches deep, by the time we got ready to get out of there, it was over 3 foot deep and 14 foot wide. And this was just a little creek that ran down through there, probably 6 foot wide at the most, because I used to go bath in it. And, you know, when I'd come in, because it was warm down there that year in October. And, of course, October 20th, you know, your days aren't very long. So we just had a limited amount of time to get plaster casts made of the film footage, or the casts of the creature itself, and also take pictures of it. And then I did some things by getting up on a stump and jumping off alongside the tracks as close as I could with a cowboy boot on with a heel to see how deep I could go. And I weighed 175 pounds at that time, and jumping off that stump at about, well, the stump was between 3 and 4 feet. So I jumped off and hit with 1 foot, and I couldn't even start to make a track. And I also rode the horse past, and the horse weighed 1,200 pounds. And I rode the horse fairly close to the tracks. And Roger took the camera, then he and took pictures of what the depth of the footprint of the creature compared to the horses and mine were. And of course, the horse track wasn't even as deep as the creature's track.
You know, you guys did some pretty amazing things after that was filmed.
Well,
I think to do that.
You know, you just kind of do what you have to do as fast as you can, and because, like I say, it's a limited amount of time. You know, start getting, you know, and down in the mountains there, it started getting not dark, but by 5:30 it was starting to get a little dust, and I think, you know, we were quite a ways back in there. We were 30-some miles back in. Well, I had this 1-ton Chevy truck, dually, and by the time we got down to Willow Creek to Al Hudson's, I think it was around 6 or 6:30. And then by the time we got over to that little town, I forget. There's 2 of them towns, Wairika and Eureka, down there, and I always get them mixed up. But anyway, the one that we went to is the closest. You know, it was getting later, and by the time we got back up to where our camp was, I think it was 12 o'clock at night or somewhere close to that. So, you know, we probably talked for 2 hours, and then Roger went to sleep, and I kind of dozed off. Then when I woke up, it was raining on the canvas on the back of the truck. So that's what. Well, I don't think I ever really did go sound asleep. I just kind of was napping.
Yeah.
But I went ahead, and Roger was sleeping, but I went ahead and got up and kicked his feet or shook him and told him to wake up. We had to go do something about the tracks. And he said, "It isn't going to rain, Bob. It don't. This thing." He said it was clear last night when we come back. I said, "Yeah, but it's starting to rain now," and then it started picking up. You know, and of course, hitting on the canvas, it don't take long. You realize it's raining pretty hard.
Oh yeah.
So that's when I made the decision that I had to get up there and do something about them tracks. Yeah. And so that's what I did.
Well, you know, I always get kind of irritated when somebody calls it the Patterson film, because that would have never happened, and all the things surrounding it, like saving the tracks and the events going up to it, providing the horses, if it wasn't for Bob Gimlin. I mean, you were such an important part of that, even today, doing basically the public relations and giving Roger Patterson the reputation that the man deserves.
Well, thank you very much. Yes, I do feel that way. I feel that way about it, but it doesn't bother me that they call it the Patterson film. But, you know, there are some people call it the Patterson-Gimlin film, and of course I have a big smile on my face when I hear that, and it just don't bother me that some people call it the Patterson film.
Well, how's that smile when I call it the Gimlin Patterson film?
Thank you.
The way it
Thank
should be,
you.
alphabetical order.
Yeah, that's
All
great.
right. Appreciate that a lot.
Bob, it has been such a pleasure. I have to tell you, when we had a chance to meet in New York personally, we've talked on the phone many, many times. And when I shook your hand and I looked you in the eye and I told you, you do not realize how important this is to me. Because
Larry,
it's
go ahead, Larry. I didn't mean to interrupt.
It was a very emotional moment because I have to tell you, I've been involved with this since I've been about 18 years old, and now I'm 60 plus, and
just a kid.
And to have I feel like a kid, and to have an opportunity to meet essentially one of my heroes, and to be the man that I thought he would be it was mind blowing. I mean, it was one of the great weekends of my life, I will always say.
Well, thank you, Larry. I let me tell you, I'd been wanting to meet you for quite some time, and it was just equally as rewarding for me as you're saying it was for you, I'm sure, or maybe more, because you know, for you to bring all of the, I'm going to call them critters because I'm not sure what I should say, but anyway, that was really something to have you there and to meet you and to know that the gentleman that you are and the things that you're doing with the wildlife program, it is great. It's great, and I just hope that that you can continue to do that, and it gets bigger and better all along. And to have me on the talk show, I really do appreciate that. And of course, I think everybody appreciates, somebody talking, tell them that they're okay. And I always wanted to be that person that was honest and say it like it is and tell it like it is.
Well, to tell you, Dr. Day, we had a private reptile show for all the Bigfoot people here there in my cabin, and it was
that was great, Larry. That was great. That was great.
We had Bob. Go ahead.
No, go ahead, Larry. I didn't mean to interrupt you. Excuse me.
No, you didn't. You didn't. We had Bob Gimlin holding tarantulas and boa constrictors, and we were lying up the.
Enjoyed every bit of it. I enjoyed every bit of it.
We had such a good time.
It was great. It was great. What? And Larry, it was such a pleasure to visit with you and meet you in person and just know that you're the guy that I figured that you would be by talking to you on the phone, you know. Yeah. And so this was, I tell you, I really, that was a highlight of my year. Well, the highlight of a long time to be there and have you there with your spiders and your snakes and all of the things that you had there. And I know it was an effort to get them down there, but at that lake for Peter, and that's a great place, you know, to be. And we had, it was great. And I was so happy that Peter had us come back there.
Yeah.
There you go. That's a fascinating interview, Larry.
I had forgotten a lot of the things that he'd said in that interview today. Yeah, it was everyone seems to enjoyed it.
Yeah, I never heard him talk like that. I've never really listened to one of his interviews, to be honest. You know, you hear more about the film and everything. But, you know, I guess it is a real kind of like moment, isn't it, to get to speak to him. I'll never get a chance to, that's the closest I'll get to an interview with Bob Gimlin. But it was fascinating, and yeah, thank God you did that. Just like thank God he went out and he got the tracks. He just trusted his instincts, didn't he? And did it. If he hadn't have done, it'd have been a different, you know, could have been a different story now.
I think the first time I talked to him about it, I said, what were you guys thinking? Or were you thinking to go back and cover them tracks in the dark after you seen that thing walking around the woods? Mom was, I never really thought about that. I'm not thinking, oh, it's a cowboy mentality.
Yeah. But also that moment as well as seeing something like that and just whatever you're thinking at the time, isn't it? Is you just
Yeah.
on
Hell,
alert, aren't you? Doing what you need to do, like he says, got to do what you need to do.
I've got many more of those interviews. With not only Bob Gimlin, but with Bill Munns,
Yeah.
the creature creator. Say that 20 times as fast as you can.
I don't. What I'll do though is I'll put a link to your channel there, the Wild World.
Yeah,
No.
I might make some more of those.
You should do some more of those. There's some great interviews on there. I mean, there's a real mix of people from, like say, Bigfoot researchers to fish and wildlife
Rock
people,
stars.
rock stars, lots of music on there.
Mhm.
I've ended up just, I could do it now if people just give me 1 second. I'll put it in the chat. I've literally just, here we go. Okay. So let me put that in the chat for people now, and then I will stick it in the description for people who are watching later. But thank you, Larry.
You're welcome. Thank you.
It's been fun. We will do it again. No doubt. Hopefully we'll get Chris back to do the drawing Bigfoot. And yeah, because it's been a while.
Yeah, we haven't done it. And I apologize for my Bob Gimlin drawing because I was absolutely become sickened by it. I'm sure I have ruined my artistic reputation to some degree.
Sometimes, we can't always be on point, can we? We have bad days sometimes. And like you say, it's been a while since you've seen
a
him.
picture of him too to look at.
Maybe, yeah.
Oh.
Well, it's fun anyway, and it doesn't matter.
Well, yeah, it's a great show, I think.
Yeah.
Mr. Gimlin.
Yeah, we got the gist of him. It was almost like an abstract kind of drawing of him in a way. If you squint, have one eye open. It was fine. All right, guys, we'll see you tomorrow night. Got James Lady coming on, James Lady Emerson coming on. We've got he's got some interesting audio that we're going to be listening to. Bigfoot, of course. So that will be a good show, I think. Thanks for everyone turning up. Thanks to all the mods. Until tomorrow night, have a great night. We'll see you all soon. Bye.